you so much. And thank you so much for having me this afternoon on this program. So, I am a veterinarian by profession. I studied at the University of the West Indies, St. Augustine campus in Trinidad. And veterinary medicine is something that I've always had a passion for. I've always loved animals, always kept pets of my own. And one of my fondest childhood memories would be taking my animals to the vet, veterinary epidemiology and economics. That was presented in Mexico. Also, Antigua to work with the Ministry of Agriculture. I now work at the Veterinary and Livestock Division in the Ministry of Agriculture, and my role there is primarily focused on ensuring that disease is not brought into the country. To put it as simply as possible, we're focused on mitigating the spread of disease. So we do inspections for animals that are entering the country. We also do inspections on animals that are being exported. We focus heavily on farm animal visits, ensuring that our farmers have the support that they need. Also, we do meat inspections. We focus on policies to regulate the movement of animals and animal health on a whole. And with my work at the Ministry of Agriculture, I've had a number of opportunities to represent Antigua at the Carib Vet Conference. I've had opportunities to do training in China at Jilin Agricultural University. And now, outside of my work at the Ministry of Agriculture, I started my own mobile veterinary practice, which operates on weekends and in the evenings, and that is focused on providing superior animal health care from the comfort of home, because I recognize that many persons are not able to necessarily bring their animals into a clinic, and also seeing the animal in its own environment, that in itself allows see a number of things that you just may not see in a clinical setting. You're able to get little hints from the environment about what is actually taking place with the animal. And so I operate my mobile practice in that manner, in evenings and on weekends. Outside of my passion for veterinary medicine, I also have a passion for youth empowerment and community work. And I'm a past president of JCI Antigua, which I am still very actively involved in. Currently, time management is something that I think I have learned with experience. I've gotten better at with experience. I would not say I've completely mastered it as yet, but I am definitely on the road to doing so. It takes a lot of scheduling and a lot of prioritizing. It takes really knowing your limits, knowing what is feasible, what's realistic, and what simply is just not possible, depending on the day, depending on the circumstances. So it's something that, I'm still working on. However, I would say prioritizing and scheduling would be the two things that really help me to get through my day, knowing at the beginning of a week what's ahead of me, what I need to accomplish, what may need to be pushed back to another time, depending on what is most important. Those I would say are some of the things that allow me to manage that 24-hour day.
Okay.
Yeah,
So this is awesome.
that's great. I mean, so many people say that they want to participate in activities, and it's wonderful to see that you actually make the time for all of those things that are important to you, because I know it's not easy.
It's
I
not.
know it's not easy at all.
You said something there which really resonates with me, and I would share to any person who, struggles with finding the time to do what they need to do in a day. It's all about making the time, because at the end of the day, we are all busy people. We all have commitments, a wide range of commitments, but it's all about making the time for what you deem important to you. So in that 24-hour day, you as a person have to recognize, okay, this is something that needs to be done immediately. That is something that can be done later. That is something that I simply won't have the time to do. And so it's really just about prioritizing what's most important at a particular time and being real with yourself and being able to say, this is possible, this is simply not feasible.
Yeah. And if you have a good support structure, delegating.
Yes, definitely.
Knowing I can't get to this, but somebody else can, and it needs to be done, but it won't be me.
Yes,
that is
yes.
also.
And having that support system, definitely, because I am so grateful to my family who supports me in everything that I do. I'm truly grateful to them. And my friends who are there for me, rooting for me, encouraging me. Without those people in my life, I would not be where I am today.
Okay. So let me run this. Let me check this. So if I listen to you correctly, you are a veterinary guardian of the galaxy. Protective plants, protective animals everywhere in Antigua and Barbuda, especially but you are, all joke aside, you are protecting the livelihoods and a sector of the economy that is vital. Especially now when we think about COVID, we think about food security, we think about farmers being able to meet demand.
Yes.
Food. Then you talk about being an entrepreneur, right? That's two.
Yes.
Then you talk about being a social activist in the form of being a part
of the JCI.
Yes.
The internet is not our friend today.
I understand.
Oh my, we've lost Loretta. Oh dear. So we've lost Loretta temporarily. I think it may be the internet. It's a small connectivity issue. And she's back.
I think I'm back, right?
Yes.
So that's an executive member of JCI. And you're still an artist. You are a dance academy, Auntie V. You dance with Auntie V?
Yes, Auntie V is my beloved dance instructor. She's like another mother to me as well. Yes, definitely. Big up to Veronica Yearwood and all of my heartstrings at the Antigua Dance Academy.
Right, so that means you dance at the Red Cross. Okay.
Yes.
And so when you look at all of those things, I see you have a double barrel last name. Am I assuming that you're married as well?
No,
okay, so you have a double barrel last name. Okay, great. I didn't want to assume. Thank you.
Yes.
So that means you find the time to do all these things, and you're still an entrepreneur. So tell us, how did you? You did mention balance. So one of the things I'm going to ask is, how do you balance all of the different responsibilities you have? As a woman, I find that one of the hardest things for me, kind of juggling a bunch of different things, is feeling like I haven't given my best to anything, but I know I have all these things I'm passionate about. So how do you balance that? And also, what started you on your entrepreneurship journey? Those are the questions I have.
Okay. So balancing life as a woman, yes. As women, we face so many unique challenges. However, I think what has kept me grounded has been my family, primarily. I was actually raised by a family group of a lot of very strong-willed women. My mother, she is indeed the strongest person I've ever known in my life, and she raised me with a lot of values of being true to yourself. She raised me, and one thing that she always encouraged, be your own boss. She has never been one to say this is what you have to do in terms of what you choose as a career path, but she's always said whatever you do, ensure that you're able to be your own boss. And that is something that always stuck with me, which is probably what caused me to, go along that entrepreneurial track. Also, my grandmother, my aunts, my great aunt, all these people, are persons who raised me and really showed me the strength of women, this group of strong-willed women, this group of really powerful, independent women who I look up to and who keep me grounded. I think, though they have really been the backbone in terms of making me the person that I am today. Also, I have always been, I just always, from since primary school going right up as young as I can remember myself. I've always had, like, growing up in primary school, my Saturdays were filled with different activities. So if it wasn't choir practice, then it was ballet class, then it was African dance class, then it was tennis, always something. So, being busy has just been a very normal part of my life growing up and still to this day. And so if there's a day when, I don't have a list of things to get done, it almost feels strange, And I also find that if let's say I have 10 things to do today, I will get through at least 80% of what I have to do. If there's a day where I just have two things to do, I find myself struggling to get those two things done. So it's weird, But all in all, I think, growing up and always being involved, that's something that I would encourage any young person to get involved. Don't think that you should be limited just to your schoolwork, because yes, it's important to be very focused on your schoolwork, to be very focused on what you're doing, whether you're at the primary school level, secondary school level, or tertiary level. Your education comes first, but it's also equally important to be a well-rounded person, because even applying to universities now, universities are looking for persons that are not only able to have a high GPA, but they're also able to balance their interpersonal relationships well. They're looking for persons who are who are leaders, who are community minded, who are going to be able to develop sustainable solutions for this changing world that we are in today. So I think,
Definitely.
yes, having that background of consistently being involved in different activities growing up, whether it was through primary school to the different activities I would have shared with you in secondary school, I was in Interact, Debate Society, Science Quiz, and then in university, once again, continuing with debate in university. We had a Leeward Islands Student Association. I was president of that organization. And even on our Hall of Residence, we had a hall concert where we all had to bring our talents together. And, it was like a fundraiser for our Hall of Residence. Just always being involved, it has definitely helped to keep me grounded. It has helped to keep me centered. It has helped to allow me to manage my time. And I think growing up, always having to juggle different activities, that has really helped me to be able to effectively time manage my life now. So I would definitely encourage any young person to just get involved in different things. Don't limit yourself to just your schoolwork, because there are other aspects of life that are equally important in really creating, a whole person who's really able to give back to society in a meaningful and sustainable manner. And then in terms of, my path to entrepreneurship, I think that was the second part of your question. I think I answered part of it. My mother always having encouraged me to be my own boss. And also I saw a need. I saw that there was really a need for persons to get, quality for their animals from the comfort of home, because I recognize that a lot of persons are simply not able to transport their animals to a clinic, whether it is because they don't have the transport to do so, or many times animals get car sick, they have motion sickness, and then other persons
not having the pet carrier. Trust me,
not
not
having
having.
that carrier exactly to put your animal in,
Yeah.
then get there, yes. And then many persons just say they are not able to make that time in the day to bring their animal to the clinic, because I've met and you might listen to that statement, I think, and think, well, okay, if this person can't take the time out of their day to take the animal to the clinic, is this person really worthy of even being a pet owner? Someone might ask that question. But I think I've seen persons who genuinely love their animals, genuinely take good care of their animals, but they're just not able to transport their animals. Also because some animals are very large, persons who have large breed dogs and so on, that, it's honestly just a challenge just transporting them.
Trust
And so I
me.
saw that, yes, and so I saw that need and realized that it's a gap that I was able to fill. And also, I'm truly grateful for the opportunity to be able to care for animals from the comfort of persons' homes, because when you see an animal in its environment, it really adds another dimension to the physical examination. You're able to take note of what's going on in the environment. Are there particular aspects of the environment that could be contributing to the animal's state of illness presently? Are there certain things that the animal could be allergic to in its environment? Are there is the animal, is the way that the person is feeding it, maybe the placement of the feeders, the waterers, maybe those things might not be ideal for the animal's environment. There are a lot of different things that I'm really able to observe from someone's home that you simply do not see in a clinical setting.
And also things that you may not even think to ask while you're doing an examination, things they won't even remember, because you ask them. Because, as an avid pet haver, like, we don't own them, we're friends.
A pet
As an
carer.
avid,
A pet caretaker.
trust me, I have half the time I don't know, because they're all outside. Half the time I don't know what they get up to when I'm not there. And things that wouldn't occur to me, you might see they say, okay, well, it's probably that they went over there, they went through that, and that is what is going on here.
Yes.
And as a pet haver, friend, as a friend of pets, yes, we just never know, and I think that it's so great that you are doing this, because trust me, sometimes they're even older persons who are just not able, they're just physically not able to do what is necessary to get them to the place where they need to be taken care of.
Yes.
And so I just want to say thank you. I know at least 4 people who are going to be taking advantage of your services soon. Because listen, and also sometimes it's just the sheer volume of pets. For example, in my yard, we have 13 cats, 2 dogs. Yes, it's 13. There are 13 of them now, yes. Spayed and neutered. We had them spayed and neutered. We are not carelessly having them running about.
You are not littering. You're not littering the island.
We're not littering the islands with our litters. And 2 turtles. And when you consider having to take everybody in to get checked, that is a hassle, because that is it usually takes about 2 weeks to get everybody checked, because you can only move so many pets at any given time. And then once they see others start disappearing, everybody gets skittish. It's like, okay, I haven't seen this one and this one. They go into the little blue box and then they disappear. So to this moment, we are unable to get 2 of the cats anywhere near the carrier. From the moment that carrier appears, they assume something bad is going to happen, and they just don't turn up. So trust me, it's so wonderful that we greatly appreciate you for providing. But this being Antigua and our lovely streets not being named, we get lost.
Yes.
Because I can only imagine getting directions and getting lost out there and what that must be like.
Honestly, it's really interesting. So, as a mobile vet, there are there are many things that I have come to experience that I would have never dreamed that, what would have even been considerations that I'd have to put in the forefront of my mind, in terms of things that I would really need to think about, things that I need to consider as a mobile vet that, are simply not even considerations for a vet who works in a clinical setting. And these are not things that they teach you in vet school either. So as you would have shared, simply finding the place and scheduling. So, scheduling is something that is very important and is the one thing that can definitely go from making my day chaotic to allowing it to go very smoothly. So normally, I would reach out to my clients the day before appointment. So let's say they have a follow-up appointment that's scheduled for Saturday. Let's say I would give them a call on the Friday to remind them that, this is their appointment time, and ensure that they are indeed available the time that I would give them. I normally give my clients an hour window because, let's face it, driving to Antigua, there's traffic and whatnot. And whereas in a clinical setting, it may be easier to say, okay, your appointment is at this particular time because, you're in control of that to the extent that you're in one physical location. The persons are coming to you, so the onus is on them to get to you at that particular time. From my point of view as a mobile vet, I have to find my way to the client. I have to take into consideration the traffic, take into consideration if it's a place that I've never been to before, getting directions. Some clients are excellent with directions and are able to find the place in one go. Other clients, the directions can be quite fuzzy and it takes quite a bit more time to figure out where I'm going. I have gotten lost many times, but I'm always able to find my way in the end. And also, there's the other aspects of it in terms of the scheduling the other patients around a particular time. So let's say I have a patient I need to see between 10 and 11. I may have also had an appointment between 9 and 10, might have been one between 11 and 12. If there's an emergency, sometimes, that has to be prioritized. If someone contacts me and tells me, their animal, let's say the animal was hit by a car or so and they're bleeding profusely, that's the emergency in comparison to an appointment that I may already have scheduled for a routine vaccination. So in a case like that, sometimes I have to reshuffle because, of course, you want to prioritize, a life and death situation. There's also situations where sometimes an appointment just runs longer than expected, whether it is because, because of whether it may have been for one reason or the other, an appointment may run longer than expected. And so I've found it a lot more effective for myself and also more convenient for my clients to give them our time period so that in the event that one client runs a little bit late, I'm usually still within that time frame. And, being on time is something that's very important to me because respecting persons' times is very important. When persons take time out of their day to state, okay, they're available at this particular time, and I confirm that I too am available at that time, I take it as something of utmost importance to try and be there within that time. And if for any reason, I'm running late, I always try to contact the person and let them know, this is what's happening. And so I might be another 20 minutes off or whatever the case may be. And that's also, a piece of advice I would give to any person, because I realize, of course, in these times with a pandemic, we have completely changed the way we operate, and many other businesses have gone mobile. Many other businesses have now transitioned from being stationary to offering delivery services and that type of thing. And so I would encourage anyone to really, take time management and take scheduling as something that they really consider very seriously, because persons really appreciate it when you're able to respect their time and arrive within the time that you're able to, as much as possible. Of course, as I said, emergencies can happen, but but persons, I can see the look on person's faces when you arrive and it's within that time period that they would have expected you. It's a breath of relief, and
Yes,
so
they're excited. It's not common. It's not
yeah,
not a popular thing. So,
being on
the
time.
client sense. No, we're West Indian. We
So,
give that, we expect that. But then it varies from country to country. Antigua time is like half an hour late. Jamaican
that's
time no, I'm not being stereotypical. It's having lived in Jamaica for
An
like
hour.
3 years. It's like
Mhm.
Jamaica is like an hour to an hour and a half. Or basically when we reach.
Yes, yes,
It's kind of like,
and
so the flexibility.
yes, and and I've experienced that with other services that I have requested from different companies or from persons, whether it's a repair at the house or whatever the case may be. And it's really a great bother when when you're expecting someone, you would have cleared your day for that person to come to you, and then they just don't appear, or they don't come in that time frame. It really sets your day back. So time management and scheduling, I would say that is one of the most important things that I've really had to take into consideration as a mobile veterinarian, and I would encourage anyone who does any type of mobile service to really ensure that they also take that into consideration, so that they too don't have that issue where you just leave clients waiting, because nobody likes to be left waiting. It's disrespectful, and it's something that I think as West Indians we all need to try our best to be better at, because I know exactly what you mean when you're saying, oh, Antiguan time. We really have to cut that out.
Yes, we do. There's nothing more irritating than Antiguan time with no phone call, especially
Yes, yes.
standing in a very and you don't know where you are. You don't have a lot of support in that area. It's very awkward. I can imagine how it
Gotcha.
must
Yeah.
be, especially if you go to a place and it's far out and you're sitting there and the person's like, "I soon come."
Right.
How
Exactly.
soon
And
is soon?
another thing that I know, another tool that I now use is Google Maps. Fortunately, a lot of persons can just drop a pin on WhatsApp of their location, and so I'm able to follow that. And most times it's relatively accurate. There are times when I've used Google Maps and it's taken me on roads that don't exist, but barring those kinds of extenuating circumstances, generally it brings you to that location. The good thing about it is that it actually does give you an estimated time of arrival. So when I take that into consideration with whatever the traffic might be in the area, I'm generally able to give persons a good idea of, okay, I'm about this far away, so they're able to prepare accordingly.
I have a question.
Yeah.
So, Dr. Hall James, if you had some advice to give to a young veterinarian who's about to start their mobile practice
Yeah.
or their practice, what would you tell them? Like, what do you wish you knew at the beginning of this journey? They're like, hey, I'm going to share this golden nugget of wisdom with someone out there who thinks this is what they want to do.
Oh boy. Well, I have a few nuggets that I would share with them. I think the first thing is, be sincere, be true to your word, be compassionate, be on time. Being sincere and genuine is something that's very important, because these are people's pets. They're members of the family, and so and of course with that comes treating persons, family members, their pets. You have to be very compassionate. So going into persons' homes, I love animals, so it's very easy for me to be compassionate, and I would advise anyone who's going into veterinary medicine and mobile veterinary practice as well, in particular, make sure that you love what you're doing. You can't do this if you don't love what you're doing. If you're having second thoughts or anything about veterinary medicine, then, this is not the path for you, because sometimes you go to a place and, it's also a very dirty job. The pets are muddy, or even when I deal with large animals as well, livestock, it's a dirty job. And so you really have to have that love for what you're doing to to really push you through the day, and so that little things like getting messy and so on don't bother you. If you're afraid of getting messy, don't get into it. um, Also, I would really, in terms of being compassionate, try and understand what the person is feeling. Put yourself in their shoes. You really have to be compassionate, but you also have to be able to separate your emotions in some instances, because yes, you have to be compassionate, you have to be empathetic towards persons, because many times, unfortunately, you're not able to save every animal, and that is every vet's dilemma. And I know many veterinarians, especially when I first started off, that's something I really struggled with, where if there was a case where unfortunately, you just could not save that animal based on, how far gone the situation is, how severe the disease process is, whatever the case may be. When there are those cases where you cannot save them, and unfortunately you have to let the owners know that, this animal is now suffering, they're no longer living a good quality of life. And unfortunately, euthanasia is an option that you have to present. And of course, when I say euthanasia, I'm referring to putting that animal to sleep. It's hard. And that's something that I really struggled with in the beginning. Because, of course, you're fresh out of vet school. You want to save every animal, but unfortunately, down the road, you recognize that is not that you're not able to save every animal, unfortunately. And that's something that I really struggled with in the beginning. And it's something that still hurts now, to this day. When I euthanize an animal, it's the least favorite part of the job, because no one wants to take life. They want the opportunity to save life and preserve life. But, what I would tell any young vet is that, you have to recognize when there's a situation where this animal is no longer living a happy life. You have to recognize if a situation presents itself where this animal is simply no longer enjoying life, it's no longer having a positive and happy quality of life. And you have to recognize, okay, are you just keeping this animal alive because the owner wants to be able to say they still have their pet? Are you just, is it a case where the animal is no longer living, but it's merely just existing? When you get to that point, you really have to make that tough decision sometimes, that the owner knows that unfortunately you do have to euthanize their animal, based on, maybe it's an animal that's no longer eating, it has lost a severe amount of weight, so it's emaciated, it's now soiling itself, it's no longer able to, use the bathroom and that type of thing. As they use the bathroom, just unfortunately maybe incontinent. In situations like that, unfortunately, you do have to let the owner know. And you have to be true. You have to never. One thing that I would encourage, that I would let persons know, young vets know, never promise something that you can't give. If you recognize it's the situation that the animal is facing, you have to let the person know straight up exactly what the situation is. If it's a situation where there is a high mortality rates, there is a strong possibility that unfortunately, no matter what you do with that particular disease process, they may not survive. You have to let the owner know upfront. Don't try to sugarcoat anything. Let persons know what the situation is. Of course, you're explaining it in a compassionate manner, and you're being as empathetic as possible, but you also have to be as straightforward as possible, because it won't help if you knew from the beginning that this is a case that simply may not live even with the best possibility, with the best type of treatment. It's always important to be truthful, be sincere, be genuine, also be compassionate, and as I said, also try as much as possible to be on time and to stick to your word when you state that you're coming to see this patient. unless there's some kind of emergency or something comes up that you really no longer to go and see that patient, let the person know. Be respectful of other people's time. Those are some things that I really encourage, that I really give as nuggets of wisdom. Also, another thing that they just don't teach you in vet school is just veterinary business management. They don't teach us in vet school how to manage your own veterinary practice. They don't teach you about bookkeeping, accounting, and that type of thing for veterinary practice management. And the reality is, when you're starting off as a veterinarian, you're starting your own practice, you may not be at that point where you're able to hire an outside accountant. That just may not be something that's realistic. So you often have to learn how to do these things on your own. So I would say to anyone, don't say to any young vet, don't be afraid to reach out to help from other veterinarians who have been through this. Have a mentor that you can reach out to, that you can ask questions to. I have mentors in Antigua in the persons of, Dr. Fiona Francis, Dr. Radcliffe Robbins. Those are vets in Antigua who have been there before me, who have had experiences with their patients, had experiences as vets. And, I'm very fortunate that I've been able to reach out to them for guidance in my career, during my career. So I would definitely say have a mentor that you can reach out to. That's very important.
Indeed. So we're talking about making sure that you have a customer orientation, making sure you have mentorship, making sure that you're passionate about your job, understanding that there are challenges, even though it is a rewarding thing, and you have to take the bitter with the sweet. That is an awesome. Those are just some general principles, I think, that everyone who is involved in entrepreneurship and anyone who's going to take out a career path that's a vocation definitely should look at. So I was checking the external chat. We don't have any external questions. So in 1 minute, give me your final, if there's something you would like the viewers of this session to take away from our session today, our conversation, in 1 minute, sum it up for me. Give me a summary.
Oh boy, why did you say 1 minute? Okay.
Only a minute. Just a minute.
I would, just be passionate about whatever it is that you're doing. Whatever that you choose, whatever path you choose to take as an entrepreneur, be passionate about it. You're not going to be successful as an entrepreneur if you don't love what you're doing. You have to be willing to put in the hours. You have to be willing to work hard. You have to be willing to be your own biggest cheerleader sometimes, to be able to motivate yourself. Many times in life, we look to all these external sources of motivation, but you have to be able to motivate yourself to keep going when times are hard, when, business may not be flowing. You have to kind of motivate yourself to get past that difficult period and really push forward and you have to be willing also to be flexible, figure out while a particular strategy may have worked at one point, it may not work for another situation. So you have to be flexible enough to determine, okay, how can I change what I'm doing to address the current situation, to address the current need that is there. I would encourage persons, once again, be true to your word, be sincere, be compassionate with your clients, be understanding of different changing circumstances that they may be going through. Don't let anyone walk over you, because you're giving respect, you also expect to receive that respect. But, be understanding of your clients and also market yourself. There are so many different forms of marketing that we utilize now as entrepreneurs. We're no longer limited to just the newspaper and radio ads. You have forms of social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat, WhatsApp, Snaps. There are so many different forms of marketing that you can utilize. So I would really encourage persons to utilize these different forms of our marketing, and also create a brand. I don't know if I'm over the 1 minute by now, but create a brand that really speaks to you, that brand that you are really able to radiate. So for me, compassion is something that I really try to, radiate. That's something that is very easy for me to do because I have that love for animals and I really care, and I genuinely care about my clients, So that is something that's easy to me. If you know, as if you have something that really speaks to you as a person, that you're really passionate about, an aspect of your personality that you can allow to shine through your particular business, I would encourage you to really make that part of your brand, because it's much easier to sell. You know, selling yourself,
Authenticity is key.
being authentic. Easy.
Authenticity is definitely key. Kimber James Matthias says, great advice. Thank you for logging in, Kimra. Nice to have you. That's all the time we have for this week. Next week, we're going to have Maresha, I hope I'm pronouncing it correctly, Maresha Williams, who is from ProFest and Home of Nature. And she'll be joining our distinguished panel next week. Dr. Hull James, thank you for sharing with us. I can see that you are committed, passionate, enthusiastic, excited about your profession, excited about sharing with us, and it just shows from the inside out. And it was a pleasure interviewing you today. And always, it's fun hosting with Miss Thomas. Didn't say much this time. She left me out to dry. Miss Thomas didn't say much.
I didn't leave you out to dry at all. I mean, it was. No, it's not that I wanted to leave you out to dry, but I mean, she just glows as she's talking about. All I could do was listen. You know, there's some people that talk, and all you can do is listen because you just. She was a wonderful guest. I thoroughly enjoyed having
our furry-legged, or furry-finned and legged, and beak friends. So thank you so much, Dr. Hall James, and it was a pleasure. So on behalf of the National Public Library, we're signing out until next week.
Thank you again. I really appreciate it.
Bye, guys. Thanks for coming.
Yes, and we're ending our live.
Well, we look forward to see you offline in person. Expect to hear from us soon.
Yes, definitely. You know, I look forward. It's unfortunate we can't be together to really share our energy in one physical space, but I really look forward to meeting you all soon.
And especially because, I mean,